Come what may, bring it on. I'm gonna love it.
Welcome to LDS Unmarried Life, a podcast for single members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who find themselves that way either because they're not yet married, divorced, or widowed. There is no affiliation with the church. You can find this podcast on AnnetteTalks.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube. Anyway, we just finished an episode that hopefully you've already listened to on Single Awareness Day. And now we're moving into, it's the same day, we're still pre-Valentine's Day here where we're recording. So we're still eating the chocolate and being silly. But this time I wanted to talk about what to do while you're waiting for marriage. Because most of us are in that boat where we're not dating anyone or we're not dating anyone seriously. We're not engaged, basically. And I feel like a lot of times we're in the Lord's waiting room. So, but I wanted to go around and introduce everybody first. And this time we're going to do it backwards. And we're going to start with Pat, who's on the phone, joining us from Arizona. Yay. It's Pat. Go, Pat. Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, Annette. Actually, I'm sitting in a hotel room in Salt Lake City right now.
Oh, that's right. But you live in Arizona.
I live in Arizona. Yes, I do.
So what do you do, Pat?
I work as a trainer for an insurance company, and right now I'm in the middle of 2 weeks for a new guy here in Salt Lake City, and then when I get back this coming Friday, the following Monday, I fly to South Carolina for 2 weeks. So I'm on the road a little bit of time, but still enough that I can work on my house in Arizona. But just happy to be here. Thanks for having me, Annette.
You're welcome, Pat. It's great to have a long-time listener, second-time caller on the show. And if the audio works well with this, I will allow other people to call in from out of state. So listeners, be thinking about that if you're interested. Bless you. Bless you. All right, now we're going to go to Kristen.
I'm Kristen. I'm never married and have no children. And I'm a millennial.
Yes, that's right. We want to add that because I've been accused of having too many old people. But we have some youngies here today.
I'm a cusper.
On the cusper.
I'm a cusper. I'm like right on the cusp of millennial and Gen X.
Gen X.
And I feel like I have like a little bit of both going on.
And you are?
I am 41.
You're Jocelyn as well,
yes.
Right? Okay.
That's what people call me, yes.
All right. And you can listen to the interview with Jocelyn that I should have posted by now. All right. Monty.
I'm Monty. I have 2 kids. I've been divorced for about 6 months. So that's it.
All right.
My name is Russ. I've been divorced 3 times and I live in a van down by the river.
By the river!
No.
Eating government cheese.
I'm just kidding. I've never been married. But I just want you to know, I have a blast. I love life, and I'm what you call a zennial between Gen X and millennial. So.
All right, and what about the van down by the river? Is that true?
No. Gosh, no.
It's actually up on the hill.
All right. Awesome. All right, Christian.
I'm Christian. I'm also a millennial, never married, and I'm very excited because I just graduated from the University of Denver and as a computer programmer.
Amen to that, brother.
Yay! Woohoo! We raised our glasses, right? Yes. All right. And we've got Upper Emily over here.
I'm Emily, and I'm happy. There's a lot of things to be happy about.
I suspect she's on something today because
there is a lot of
chocolate that's been
there's a lot of chocolate at this table.
There's a lot
of chocolate has been consumed in the last half hour.
I did.
Powdered sugar.
Oh, I know. I've eaten enough chocolate to last till Valentine's Day. Yay!
Even though it's Colorado, it's not what you think.
That's right.
It's
not
just
that kind of chocolate.
No, it's pure chocolate, unadulterated chocolate. And I'm Annette. This is my podcast, and you can find me at AnnetteTalks.com. And I've been divorced about 3.5 years, 3 kids, ages 8, 9, and 10. And that's about it. So we're going to start this topic on what to do while you're waiting. Because I feel like I don't have a problem with accepting the Lord's will in my life. A lot of times I have a problem with accepting his timing. And so it feels like the waiting game is something that I've been doing for at least half of my life, because I didn't get married until I was almost 38. And so that was a lot of waiting. And now here I am divorced and waiting again. So it's a theme that a lot of us have. And I wanted to share something that occurred to me this week that I see a lot of going on, and I feel like I'm finally past it. Like, I feel like a lot of singles feel like the women maybe feel like they're the gatekeeper and they're looking for the key master. Okay? And they are not going to be happy until they find that key master, or the guy's the key master, and he's not going to be happy until he finds that gatekeeper.
Do they speak with a really low, possessed voice?
Yes. The gatekeeper. Right.
I like this analogy.
That was the best. That analogy is what occurred to me one day when I was out for a walk, because for a long time I was like, Heavenly Father, you need to send me my man. I'm not happy until I find my man, blah, blah, blah. And it just made me feel on edge, frustrated, not happy, waiting to find this guy, this gatekeeper, key master. I guess the woman's the gatekeeper. Anyway, whatever. We don't want to strain the analogy too much. But, and then I was reading this book. I just finished this book by Carol Tuttle, and it's something about affluence. I can't remember the whole title right now. But in the last section's about relationships, and she talks about how it's geared towards married couples, but she basically says, you are responsible for your own emotional happiness and your own emotional welfare. And that when you get married, if you're expecting your spouse to fulfill your emotional needs, you're going to be frustrated and let down and disappointed again and again. And I thought, that's kind of what's going on with singles who aren't married, that are like not happy.
I don't have my other half.
Yeah,
I can't
exactly.
be complete until I have my other half.
Exactly.
I think a good marriage is like 1 + 1 = 3.
Right.
Right? Like you're complete, you're whole, but the sum of your parts is, or what is it,
right.
What do they say? The sum of your parts is greater than
the whole.
Yeah.
And the individuals.
Right. And so that was another thing too. I was thinking was the half, or I was looking for a better half or our other half. Well, when I was reading this section of the Carol Tuttle book, she talked about raising yourself emotionally if you have not done that yet, because a lot of us are still like little kids who have not raised themselves and who are looking to the spouse to raise them. And I think that's where a lot of marital discord comes in, and divorce, because that person's not doing it for you. They did not do the job that you didn't do for yourself, or your parents didn't do, or whatever. But it's your job to raise yourself emotionally and become a whole person who meets their own needs.
Whether it's your fault or not.
Right, doesn't really matter.
It's still your responsibility.
Yes, it's your, and she does this visualization thing where she basically has you meet your child self and tell your child self you are taking over the job, and you actually see your parents and say, I'm not looking at you anymore, and your spouse, I'm not looking to you anymore. No, don't give me that look, Monty. It's a good book, and I love it.
Fun.
But anyway, it made me come away with the idea of, I can raise my own self emotionally and be a totally complete person without a man. And so I went for like a week of like, I am like totally cool with this. I'm really like at peace and at
Just
ease.
a week.
Well, I want to tell you the next thing that happened, because it was a great week. I saw a lot of NCIS and like, anyway, I was just feeling really at peace. And then I listened.
NCIS.
I love NCIS. I've got my man. I've got my Denosa.
She knows how to kill people without
I've got
getting
my
caught.
Gibbs.
He's good.
Anyway, so I was really cool. I'm still at that place, but I had another realization. I was listening to this 70s song. I think it was Little River Band. But for some reason, I was listening to it and I thought, I am at peace. I am content. But if I met a great guy that was great for me, he would add color and vibrancy to my life. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at now, where I feel like I can totally sail along just the way I am right now with my girls, working on my career and doing all these things and be okay. And if a guy comes along, he's going to add that. My life's going to be just that much better.
Yeah.
but I'm not waiting around for him to come along and quote unquote make me happy.
I think it puts us in a strange place too, though, because once you realize that about yourself, then you're not going to settle for anything less
Exactly.
than what you. Then some. I've had this discussion because I've heard people say, they're like, well, women are so shallow because they're always asking what I can bring, and I was like, but what can you bring? Like,
yes.
If I'm happy, why would I?
Because he's assuming financial.
Well, not just financial, but anything. Like, she always wants to know what I could do for her, and I was like, well.
That's not shallow. That's seeking out what.
Yeah, I was like, what can I do for you? I know what I can do for you. So you show me what you can do for me. Like
I was gonna say he needs to be truthful with himself because he's looking for that too.
Exactly.
It's like, what can you bring to the relationship?
He's like, well, why is she always asking? I was like, so what you're saying is that you can't bring anything to the relationship.
I think what it is I think he hears certain things when a woman wants to know what he can bring. What he interprets that as is, oh, she wants me to be her ATM, or, oh, she wants me to do everything and I get nothing. That's what he hears, okay?
But
well, maybe because that's been his past experience.
And he relates to past experience, and so when he hears that, he's going to assume that it's a pattern with a lot of women, and
but that's more baggage than I want to deal with.
Well,
yes.
and that's a fallacy too, because you really need to understand if you're meeting someone and stuff, you got to
clear the slate,
make a discord between what was your past experience and who this person is, because they're not going to have a chance if you start tying your past experiences to this person and stuff. You're going to disillusion some of the things that they might say, they might do, or they might try to do for you, and you're going to read it as, oh, this is what happened in my past experience, and this is what she means. And it's like, you got to understand that.
And we all have a thing, I mean, like, and you can't really move outside of it because you can't move outside of it. It's all you know. So on one level, I understand that. But I do think that we need to make an effort to recognize it about ourselves. It's like cognitive therapy, right? Like, if you're really afraid of, say, dark places, then you keep putting yourself out there. You lean in, right? Like
lean into the discomfort.
Yeah, you lean into the discomfort.
In a safe way. You're not going to just go out in the dark in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but you don't like
lean into that.
It's something that you kind of need to struggle with. So if you find that you're doing that, or somebody calls you on it, I think that is what I miss the most about having like a significant other. Is I think I've reached a point where the things that I know about, I've worked on really hard. But I am sure there's stuff I don't know about that nobody's bothered to tell me, and I really want to start working on those things too, because I've come a long way by myself, but I could do so much more if I just had, so but Heavenly Father has his plans, and
to the point of that was being discussed earlier of how do you I just slept again out of my brain. I hate when this I'm getting so
your choo-choo train of thought has left the station.
Yeah, because I'm thinking of 5 different things at the same time. So when you feel the need to ask someone, what can you bring to the table? I think, that's the point where you don't. Yeah. They should be showing what they're bringing to the table, and then you grow with them because you're attracted and inspired by what they're already bringing. Yeah. To have to ask that is you already know.
It's already over. Yeah. And I think because a lot of people, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I'm like, well, I don't. I don't want to be somebody's mom.
No way.
I think also, so like I guess it was 12 years ago. I moved from Arizona, so I was a preschool teacher in Arizona, and I moved to Colorado, and I found myself in situations where like my car would be broken or something. I was like, if I only had a husband, then I would have yeah. And I decided that every time I said that to myself, then I was going to learn how to do that thing.
That's awesome.
And 12 years later, I joke that I'm a motorcycle away from being the man I wanted to marry, because like I can work on my own car. I can go in and like if a mechanic is trying to buffalo me, I know he's buffaloing me, and I say, okay, show me. Like,
you need to come with me sometime then, because gosh, I can never tell.
I know they are, but they still don't stop. It drives me crazy. I'll call my dad. Dad, I gotta go to the mechanic. He's saying this. I know it's not true. Could you come in with me? Like So
it's like they won't lie to a guy.
Yeah, or being able to fix my own. Refinish furniture, being able to do my own plumbing, things like that. There were just things that I decided I was going to learn how to do those things. So now I'm kind of picky because I'm like, well, I can already do. If anything, it's more about allocation of resources, and as much as I can't do all the things that need to be done in a day to run a household, and it'd be super awesome to have somebody to share that with.
Yeah, like a partner.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have a partner.
I don't need somebody to save me necessarily anymore. I mean, there are people that step in and help me, and that's awesome, and it's great. But I also think that part of being a strong human being is being able to say, I can accept that help, and it doesn't diminish me. It doesn't, so, and that was something I had to learn. But it would be really nice to have a partner that, you knew was in there for the long haul.
But when you know that you don't need a partner, then like you said, you keep your standards high. Whereas you see these people that feel like they absolutely have got to be in a relationship, they just end up with anyone. And
that never works out well.
No.
Well, and that's why a lot of the times the good girls go for the bad boys, because the bad boy is the one that makes the move. And it's not good because the good girl then puts herself in situations where she ends up getting hurt a lot of the time or feeling taken advantage of.
I don't think that's necessarily the case.
But
it happens often enough.
It does happen often enough.
I don't think that's why they end up with the bad guys, though.
But a lot of the times is the good guy never steps up. And sometimes the reason the good guy never steps up is because he thinks the game is rigged. He thinks that a lot of women are shallow, and a lot of women just are just so picky about certain things that he thinks he doesn't have a chance, and so he gives up.
I don't know if I call that a good guy.
If that's what I was going to say. If he thinks that about women, he's not a good guy.
But not well.
That's not somebody you want to be with.
Yeah. It's not necessarily that he's not a good guy. What it is he just feels that the game is rigged based on his own experiences, but yet he continues to go out and do good for others at the same time. And so, but at the same time, like I was just saying, is if that's the case, you really just got to focus on building yourself up first, and then go out. Because if you have that kind of mentality, you are not ready to be in a relationship. You're not ready to date, and you're going to continue feeling bitter to the point where you're going to be hitting a wall, and you're going to be alone, bitter, angry. You're going to kick against the pricks.
You self-validate, like you validate your
yeah.
And no one's attracted to that.
If you're thinking about it, you're going to find it.
And no one's attracted to bitterness. And no, you're right, Emily, because if you put that vibe out there of no one likes me, everybody hates me, I'm going to go eat worms, no one's going to like you, everyone's going to hate you.
That's what your brain is looking for. When you give your brain that message, that is what your brain is looking for.
We're talking about this because there is... we were talking about the bad boy versus the good guy, because I've had this discussion with so many men where they're just like, well, the good guys they always finish last. I was like, no, they don't. I was like, the doormats finish last.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and a lot of times they have an agenda. Like my daughter had an experience recently where he was always, oh, poor me. He was trying to manipulate her into having a romantic relationship, and when she didn't reciprocate, then he turned into a complete jackass. So it wasn't that he was really a good guy.
I think the show just went edgy again.
I think I
have a tendency to do that, just so you know.
Because I used the word jackass. I was thinking donkey. Okay. I'm sorry.
And that's okay. It was just funny. Anyway, keep going.
No longer has any rating.
A jerk.
I like where you're going though. Keep going.
So I think that there's a lot to be said for, like I said, I've had guys, whoa, the nice guys always finish last. They don't. They really don't, because we need someone who can stand up for us sometimes. And
I see this on Facebook discussion groups all the time too.
Whining.
You know what?
Whining is so not attractive.
I know. I have to spend less time in those groups now because it tends to always devolve into the same discussion.
That's one of the reasons I left the LDS sexy singles group, is because that's all it was drama, and it was drama I did not need in my life.
Not that any of the listeners in that group are bad people, because we love all our listeners.
I'm part of that group, and it is actually one of the better groups. I've been in some real ugly ones.
I've been added to a lot of groups lately. Somehow it looked like I'm an administrator of a group, and I'm like, wait, what? How did I? Yeah. It's asking me to approve people. So how did I get added to that?
Yeah, you have to accept that.
That's what I thought, but so it's sending me these messages. I don't know.
It's too much work.
I'd like to go back to something Russ said about the, not stepping up.
This is Kristen.
Yeah.
We're hearing from Kristen. Yay.
Whoa. Kristen. I mean, I've found, I don't know if it's a blind spot or just taking things for granted or what, but among Latter-day Saint circles, it's like no one will pay attention to me, but if I'm like outside of Latter-day Saint circles, men see something, and I'm guessing it's probably the spirit, let's be honest here, and they're attracted to it, and they ask, and I've chosen not to date outside of the church.
And isn't it incredibly frustrating?
Yes, but I mean,
2
times, like I've taken the Greyhound bus, like from Salt Lake and stuff, and one guy already had a girlfriend, but he was amazed I was not attached, and the other one was like actively trying to figure out how he could date me, but he was from like halfway across the country and 10 years older and all sorts of things, so that didn't work out. But it was just, it's just like, what's going on? I don't understand.
And for the record, Kristen is top notch, and she's a geek and a nerd.
She's good people.
Right?
Right.
And she's into what? What were we talking about the other day?
Star Wars, Star Trek, and
D&D and stuff like
Brandon
that.
Sanderson books, and
Yeah, you and Jocelyn would hit it off too. I
Oh,
think, because
sweet.
you guys
Yeah.
are kindred spirits.
Well,
My daughter's a complete sci-fi.
I hope-
She's playing D&D right now. That's why.
I hope to see you guys at Starfest in April.
I'm just enough into it to know what's going on, and just enough out of it to still get around with normal people. So.
Yeah. It's a nice blend.
But we like those people that are way into it as well too.
Yeah.
If they're
That's
listening.
awesome. All right, so Pat, what do you have to say on this?
So, one of the things that I've always tried to pride myself on is that even while we're waiting, or whatever you want to call it, I try to make myself ready for the opportunity. And if that means I have to go out and learn how to do stuff like sewing or cooking or whatever, I'll go and do that stuff, just things that interest me. I'm not waiting for life to come to me. I'm going out and taking advantage of the life that I have right now.
Yep.
Amen to that.
Frankly, it's one of those factors that I think I mentioned this on the all male roundtable that we had a couple months back, where these girls would tell me, well, when I get married, I'm going to start having family home evening. And my thought to me was, why aren't you doing it now?
Exactly.
Being ready for that opportunity when it does come. Because if you're waiting till the last minute for it to happen, that's probably not going to go like you think.
Although I do have to say that there are some things that I'm like, when I'm married, I'm going to be able to do that because I have to prioritize, right? Like, sometimes I don't get to always like cook as much as I'd like to because I'm working, and going through Zoe's kitchen, I'm okay with. So there are things that I would really like to do, but that I understand, like in the as far as what's important and what isn't important.
So what was the rest?
Well, right now, even Annette, you brought up earlier about the Come Follow Me program right now, and as far as having singles gather together. Yeah. And it's interesting that we're a month and a half into this, and I'm still barely seeing a few people that are single talking about it. I've basically taken it upon myself to do my own thing at this point. I'm just not around enough to really set up something and have people come over to my house on a regular basis. But what I do is I actually just make sure I'm doing the readings and the teachings. And by the way, just so you know, if you're a Sunday school teacher, there is a book on this for Come Follow Me. I thought it was the individual and family one. And so when I went to teach this past Sunday, pretty surprised that I did not have the same stories in the teacher's aid or guide that it was in the personal study one.
Yeah, they're different.
Yep.
It's a different book. You know what? We do see, at least in the Denver area, and I'm guessing Utah is the same, but in the Denver area, there are singles groups popping up that are getting together to do Come Follow Me study. I don't know how successful they are yet.
I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, why not?
And just as an FYI, I'm planning a podcast probably in about a month where the topic is going to be, what are you doing for Come Follow Me? Because I want to see how everybody's handling it. But I like that singles groups are popping up, and some are, every other week, and some are going to try once every week just to see who will show. I'm doing, when I have my girls, I'm doing it with varied success. Sometimes
we came over once. I
good.
thought that was
It was really great when Emily brought her kids and we got the kids together. That worked out really well.
I thought I saw somebody had a Facebook group that was for the Come Follow Me, and then it got removed or deleted or something.
Oh.
Because I thought it might be cool to have like a discussion group so that when we're doing it over the week, we can have a running discussion on our own time.
There's one up in Boulder. There's one down in Colorado Springs. The one in Denver is kind of periodic.
But a Facebook
group. She's saying a Facebook group.
Oh, a Facebook group.
You
Yeah,
should
so
start
that we
one.
don't have to come to a set location. We can discuss it. I like it.
Yeah, so
I encourage you to start that,
I
Dustin.
said my work has one
I would
on a
contribute.
weekly basis.
Why
We
not?
do it Sunday nights.
I kind of want to make an analogy. So Come Follow Me is self-directed teaching. While you're by yourself, that is an opportunity for self-directed self-improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I love what Jocelyn was saying. She taught herself mechanics. She probably taught herself maybe a little bit of handiwork and a variety of things she didn't mention. But it's an opportunity for you to improve on yourself, to build on yourself. also to while you're waiting to find someone to fill that void. You have to fill that void with something, whether it's a calling or a cause or your children or maybe like I said, maybe education.
It's just getting to know yourself too, because one thing that I've noticed and stuff being a convert is I think maybe the singles that have never been married might have that advantage because the people who've gotten married usually have gotten married early and have never lived on their own.
Yeah.
And so
they get divorced
they don't know who they are a lot.
It's really
and they struggle, I think.
because I feel like in some respects they socially stop. Like I have a whole set of skills that a lot of the women that I know at church don't have because they've never had to develop them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's not that it's bad or good. It's just different. It's just the way it is. And I'm not like judging them for it. It's just that it's really hard for me to converse with them and to have conversations because we have such completely different frames of reference.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'll, I don't know. So we get to learn from each other that way. And I think that's what's great about a ward is I get to see that whole thing. Like this may be what's so inspired about the whole ward setup is like I have friends who aren't LDS and they go church shopping, right? Like they go to find the church they want and I feel like I have the most in common with this congregation. That's not what it's about. Like we get to learn from each other. We get to like kind of I guess the broadest base of experience. But I think what I do like about the Come Follow Me and having it with other people is the same sort of thing. There's a diversity of thought. And when I explain things, a lot of times it solidifies it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well, that's what's great about teaching. Yeah. Well, and I teach gospel doctrine, and I just wanted to play off of what Christian was talking about earlier. A few weeks ago or I guess we're over a month into this now. When we first started teaching, I teach with another sister, we take turns, and we were talking about how Come Follow Me is the latest, or not the latest actually, it's one of the steps forward that the church is taking and how the work is hastening, right? And how I look at the hastening and studying on our own, and I want to say that that's part of when we're waiting, what are we doing to hasten our own progress? Mm-hmm. And what I said in gospel doctrine was, the church is moving forward, the work is hastening, I am going to go with it. I want to hasten with it. Yes, mm-hmm. I want my own individual hastening because if I don't, I'm going to fall behind. And so we got plenty to do.
And when the zombies come, I want to be at the front, not the back of the group.
I think we're all in different. What do they talk about the road to Damascus? I don't think that there is a front to the group, and I don't think there's an end to the group. There's just a group, and as long as you're walking, as long as we're walking in the right direction.
Yes, exactly.
Because depending on the seasons in our life, sometimes it is everything you can do just to stay pointing in the right direction.
Yes.
I want to pivot to what Pat said because he makes a very important point when it comes to making yourself attractive and being the type of person that the Lord wants you to be. I'm going to be honest, I have childlike enthusiasm, and this developed over the years because I spent so much time in depression because I worked graveyards and I didn't really see a lot of sunshine during the day, so it was just a lot of depression. Well, the last couple of years, I decided
everyone you're around is dead.
Exactly. So I decided to do something about it rather than just sit around and complain. And today I'm booking commercials, music videos. I'm taking part in the 48-hour film project where you write, shoot, and direct short films in 48 hours. I'm making annual trips to Las Vegas. Like the last Las Vegas trip I was at, I jumped off the stratosphere and lived to tell the tale. The stratosphere, 855 feet tall.
Wow.
It was a controlled free fall. I was harnessed in and everything, but I jumped off of it because I wanted to learn to conquer fear. And if you want to conquer fear, do that, because I'm telling you, it's nerve-wracking. But like the moment you jump, you just feel like you're gracefully floating down to the end. And they, of course, they make sure that you bend your knees and everything. But it was just a very thrilling experience. And what I learned from that is, you only get like one life, and you may as well just learn to enjoy it along the way, in addition to whatever struggles you're experiencing, because there's only so much time you had before you die. Now, I know we'll all be resurrected and everything, but if you really want to make a difference, be the type of person that's positive, that makes that makes a difference in the lives of others. And one of the reasons how I do it is I enjoy life, and by enjoying life and having this childlike enthusiasm, I'm making other people smile as a result, and it means a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You sound like
Russ,
Emily over there. Sorry, Pat, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, one of the things that kind of reminds me, Russ, in my job when I train people, one of the things I try to do is look at what good qualities they have that I can bring to the table so that when they meet with our customers, they're able to actually be more successful in their careers.
Yep.
So I can train how to write estimates. I can train how to use the computer systems. I can train all that. I can't train empathy into somebody.
Yeah.
And so when we're waiting for marriage or for waiting for life, we need to figure out what are our good strengths and what can we bring to the table. And when you get into a relationship, my guess is that you want to bring what's good from that person and what's good from you, and not get rid of that, but bring it together. But if all you're doing is every single profile shot you have on whatever dating app you are on is not you smiling, and you look grumpy, chances are that's all you're going to find are
What
people
if I
that...
am grumpy?
So, Pat, I take it you don't like the term wait. What would you call this episode if you were naming it?
Live your life.
Preparing.
I like that.
I do. I think what to do while you're waiting. Don't wait.
Don't
I
wait.
call it active waiting.
There was a time when I was like, what if I make this decision and then it draws me away from it? It's important enough. If Heavenly Father wants me to be with somebody, He'll put them in front of me. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
It's going to work out. But in the meantime, I need to be ready to be the best person I can be in the meantime.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I call it that is because I don't mean it in a passive way.
I mean call it something.
I mean it's waiting on the Lord.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I've put my trust in Him that He's going to provide me with what I need when I need it.
But Annette, think about that. Why are we waiting on the Lord? The Lord's waiting on us.
Yes.
We happen to be on His time, and because of that, we shouldn't be waiting. We should be actively doing things. It's like the law of repentance requires us to do certain things. If we don't do them, we don't take full advantage of the atonement. Right. And in order to make sure we take full advantage of the atonement, we need to be actively doing things.
Anxiously engaged.
Not just sitting and waiting our time before we can take the sacrament again.
Well, and I'd rather live life than watch it happen on TV, which is why you will never see me watching episodes of Dr. Phil, because I think it's just a total and complete waste of time.
But what about NCIS?
Actually, that's what I was going to though too, because as far as waiting is more of a passive thing. I mean, I always consider that when I got even before I got divorced and stuff, it's like you have to live your life. You have to live it, because I mean, if you don't, you're just going to let it pass by and you've done nothing with it. And so go out and live it. Go out and find new hobbies. Go out and find the hobbies you do like. Go out and find old hobbies that you like. Interest. I mean, and take advantage of that. Get to know yourself. Get to enjoy yourself. Because, again, like we've talked about many of times before and stuff, is if you're liking yourself and you feel good about yourself, that's what other people will see too. And that's what you're going to attract. If you're struggling with yourself, though, that's what you're going to attract too. People who have struggles with themselves and who will struggle with you. But.
Well, I think another thing too is, and I'm saying this, not just for the men, but for the women as well, just, learn to be okay with being vulnerable, because a lot of us are very guarded when it comes to things. And especially men, like a lot of men just don't show their feelings because they're raised not to do that. They're raised with thinking, by expressing your feelings, you're being a sissy. You got to man up. You got to be a man and do guy things, and it means going out and being and getting involved in physical activity,
like eating raw meat and saying,
or doing things that the typical alpha male does. You got to be a man. And
the thing is,
toxic masculinity.
I'm gonna go home and cook my quiche.
The entire alpha male thing if you're worried about being an alpha male, you're not it. Like that's kind of how like I was having a discussion. Well, it came back to like the Gillette commercial thing again. I was like, when Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino came out and like busted the kids that were beating up the kid who tried to steal his car. I was like, was he being less manly because he was helping people out? Like, because he was sticking up for him? I mean, that's what they were calling for. If you're worried about being an alpha man, you're not it. And it's okay. The world needs beta males too. Just don't be a jerk. Like, you know?
I like how you fixed that. I saw your mouth there.
Yeah, that was good. Such a
well, I was trying to think. I had like 5 words run through my head, and all of them were inappropriate. So I was like,
But
jerk.
I mean, this is something I've struggled with too, and I have a friend that I talk to on a regular basis when it comes to personal things that I don't talk with anyone else because I've gotten to the point where I trust her, and she's like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It is okay to feel the way you feel. Yeah. Accept it, acknowledge it, and then do something to fix it so that way it doesn't keep bothering you. And that means a lot to me because it shows that this woman cares. And because we're at that point in the relationship, now we're not romantically involved or anything, it's platonic, but it's something that I can trust her with because she doesn't go around saying that to everyone else.
It is really
and
important.
it means something.
It's really important to have somebody that you can trust to give you good. Okay, first of all, that has the judgment to give good advice. Second of all, that has the ability to give you disinterest, like unself-involved good advice, objective good advice. Like, because I have friends that I know could give good advice, but they give advice that is. I'm trying to think of how to explain it. It would be the best thing for them, yeah. But not necessarily the best thing for me. Those are not people that, I talk to about stuff.
Do you mean the best thing for them if they were in that situation, or just
no, like
something that will benefit them if they tell it to you?
Something that might benefit them.
Okay.
If they, for whatever reason.
So those aspects of waiting are while we're waiting. It's a progressive waiting. It's an active waiting. It's doing something where we're improving ourselves, making ourselves better, recognizing the good around us, and involving ourselves more in the good around us.
Yeah, and if we want to be in that relationship with an eternal companion, we need to make ourselves into that eternal companion that person wants to be with. Yeah. And figure out what it is that we are going to bring. And if that means that if you're finding that you have lots of issues from past relationships, weaknesses that need to be strengthened, strengths that can be stronger, then this is the time.
Heavenly Father wants us to be happy. Right?
Yes.
Yep. So if He wants us to be happy and we're not with somebody and that is a cause of unhappiness or a cause of discomfort, there's a reason.
Yeah.
So we need to get to it and figure it out.
Yeah.
But as well though too, we also have to realize that it's okay to be different too. We don't have to have someone that's exactly like us. I mean, that's the thing that I think some people get caught up in too. It's like, oh, well, you don't like this. I don't know if I can be with you or something. And I mean, it's being vulnerable, but it's also it's okay to have differences though too.
I wouldn't want somebody that was exactly like me because we would just drive each other crazy.
Yeah. We're supposed to find someone that's complimentary. That's what Steve Solberg said, and when I interviewed him. If you haven't listened to that, go listen to that Steve Solberg interview. Yeah. He's a comedian, so he doesn't necessarily need someone that's funny. He needs someone that thinks he's funny, that laughs at him. I'm not a great cook. It would be good to marry a guy that likes to cook because that's not really my thing. I'm not really into sports, but if a guy wants to watch sports, I'm down with that. I can go take my walk while why not find things someone that compliments you? They don't.
I still enjoyed the hot dogs that I ate from you, so thank you.
I never made you a hot dog. Get out of here.
I don't necessarily watch sports either, but I love the Super Bowl because I spent it with good friends. We fellowship together. We eat pizza, wings, drink some sodas. And things, and watch the commercials. But for me, it's like, do I really care who wins the Super Bowl? Not really. But I love spending time with people that I've gotten to know over the last 7 years who are concerned for my welfare.
But not 8 years.
Well, it'll be 8 years. It'll be 8 years next year. It'll be 8 years next year.
But not 9 years.
Okay, Emily.
But it's like it's good to spend time with people that just really care, and it's like he's even invited me to things like WrestleMania, which I never go to because I don't really like fake sports. But
so anyway, yes, we want people that are complimentary. We don't need to be the same.
This reminds me of a podcast I listened to just recently. Barbie Does Dating. So Nick Galletti did I guess, kind of organized and hosted a show. And they talk a lot about what to look for in a date and what to be as a date. And they focus more on the younger crowd and return missionaries and that kind of age. So some of my takeaways from that were you can't really make mistakes on a date with the right kind of people. Make sure that when you're interacting with people, don't keep it to texting or online. Get in person. Use your real voice. Get in touch. Be in person, face to face, and then be someone that inspires other people. And be sure to surround yourself with people that inspire you. Whether you're going to marry them or not, that's not the focus. It's getting to know good people and learning that.
Say that you become like you are the 5 people that you spend most time with.
Yeah.
I think that's been one of the big impetus, or one of the big motivations for me getting out of my work environment that I was in, is there were so many negative people. And I actually, because I was, the position I'm doing now, doing testing, it's because I was sitting next to somebody who was incredibly negative, and I could hear him, and he was just complaining all day long, and I was like at wit's end, because there's a point where it affects you, and you can't not let it affect you. And I just told him, I was like, I can't stand this, could you please move me? Because like, seriously, and everybody knows, like everybody in the office knows. And we couldn't. So it is really important to surround yourself with the kinds of people that you want to be.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, because you don't get to be top dog. Well, I mean, first, I know.
In the workplace.
For some women.
Yeah.
Well, in general.
Oh.
I know some women that will only surround themselves with people that they can dominate.
Oh.
No.
Yeah. So, but then you don't ever get an opportunity to grow or be better. And you never really get to.
Yeah, you need to be challenged.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to surround myself with people that I like to be like. I interrupted you. Go ahead, Christian.
Being in the right environment is correct. There's this proverb I really like that says, "The wise man fleeth from temptation, while the fool falleth away." The wise man doesn't test his resistance. He doesn't. He tries to stay away from that bad environment. Get as far away as he can. He doesn't try to test himself.
Thank you.
Sounds like Joseph of Egypt.
Yep. Yep. He fled.
Fled.
I don't fled. Thank you. I know there's a word in there.
He flied.
All right. So wrapping it up. Thank you guys. Whether you call it waiting or being anxiously engaged, preparing, whatever you want to call it.
Unengaged.
Yeah, exactly, because we're unengaged. That's the problem.
That was awesome.
None of us are anxiously engaged.
Was hilarious.
Anyway, well, it's just, to me, it's the in-between time, and what do we do with that? And the answer is you make the most of it. You make the most of yourself. You make the most of your opportunities. You personally grow. You serve.
Well, I find like
you do everything that you can. You surround yourself with really good people.
President Nelson's current wife, she was 50.
Yeah. And she did not sit around.
She did not sit around. And
Woman is accomplished.
She is.
Yeah,
she's amazing. She's like, I find her really inspiring. I was like, see, and that is what you can do when you don't sit around waiting.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
She's a good example.
Or watching Dr. Phil.
Okay.
I'd rather watch Doctor Who.
Amen.
All right.
Doctor Who?
On that note, thank you all for joining me, and Pat on the phone there.
Thank you.
This has been fun, and everyone find this episode on AnnetteTalks.com, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, yada yada. Send me, please subscribe, comment, send me your question for the new episode I'm going to do, Ask Annette, where I'll answer your questions. And come listen to us again on LDS Unmarried Life, where LDS singles gather.
I'm gonna bloom where I'm planted. I won't take things for granted. Come what may, bring it on. I'm gonna love it.